Hello everybody and welcome to my casa in Mijas, here in Mijas, Casa Joy. This is where we are, named after my dear mother. Mijas is a lovely area. I mean, this is a beautiful part of the world, which is why we've decided to move over here. And we've bought this little restaurant called the Little Geranium in La Cala, which is getting some great reviews and packed out. I mean, it's absolutely exhausting. And I was kind of retiring. I was coming here to sort of retire and slow down and wind down. And guess what happened? I'm just flat out busy. I'm cooking faster and harder than I ever have in my life. And this is supposed to be me winding down. It's quite funny, really. But anyway, today we're going to show you how to cook a piece of beef. Now, I know that sounds fairly basic, but I've had beef cooked by certain people which remain unnamed. And I've had beef cooked very well, but some of the unnamed ones have been awful. And I thought, oh my gosh, what have you done wrong? But the first thing they've done wrong is choose the wrong cut of meat or the wrong quality. Now, the trick of having the most fantastic steak you ever have in your life is choosing the best beef that you can get your hands on, rather than go for the cheapest beef. If you are looking at a cheaper cut or the cheapest entrecôte or ribeye, as they call it over here, they call it entrecôte, or the cheapest solomillo, the fillet, then my advice is don't choose it. Go for chicken or something, but don't choose that kind of beef. And there's a lot of what they call Spanish national beef, which isn't very good, but you can understand why. I mean, there's no grass. It's so dry down here. It's like a desert. So you're not going to get great grass-fed beef, are you, here in Andalusia? But you will in the north of Spain, around San Sebastian. Some of the best beef comes out of that, and I'm buying it for the restaurant at the moment. And also, don't forget Argentina, which actually produces some of the finest beef that I have ever eaten. And this is an example of it. Pablo, can you have a close-up of that? This little piece of beef here is a ribeye. It hasn't got much fat. It is aged. It's a little bit wet, but it's been in a vac pack for a little bit, and it kind of needs to dry out a little bit. But it's delicious flavor. And we're going to cook this ribeye with an Argentinian sauce, and the sauce is called chimichurri. So first, let me just look at the beef, and I'm not going to trim it up. And the reason I'm not is because I want the fat. The Argentinian beef, we're going to cut it. If you can buy a big piece and then cut it into steaks, better that you cut it yourself. So we're going to cut off about 8 ounces, like that. And that's the end piece, and I normally get it a little bit, the end piece, sometimes because it's the end, it has a little bit of sinew running through. This one is absolutely fine. I'm going to knock it back a little bit, and that piece of beef will be seasoned up and go into the pan. And we're going to make this lovely dressing. Let me just wash my hands very quickly. The dressing, it's a very simple dish, but it's absolutely delicious, and it's a great dish to have on a Sunday. I'm a bit of a traditionalist really. I love my beef on a Sunday, and I mean, I'd have it every day, but you can't have fillet steak every day or entrecôte every day, can you? So in this pan, I've got some dried chilies, and I've got some soy sauce. Now, chimichurri, there's loads of recipes for it. The Argentinians, I know some Argentinian people, and they tell me differently, but I like a little bit of soy sauce in it, so I'm putting some in. And into that, I'm going to put a little bit of honey. So we've got chilies, soy sauce, honey, some black pepper, some vinegar, which I can see behind me. So in the pan we've got the chilies and we've got the honey and we've got a little touch of soy sauce, which is my little twist on it. It isn't necessarily a component of chimichurri, but I think it needs to be in there. I'm also going to add a touch of vinegar and a little bit of garlic as well. I can't have a dip without the garlic. Now you can use powdered dried garlic, but I prefer not. I mean, the fresh garlic is cheap and it's delicious, so why not use it? And just chop it up, baby. Chop, 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 chop. Just roughly, just to get all those lovely flavors into that dip. Now, chimichurri isn't mind-blowingly spicy, so I wouldn't put too much chili in it, but it's softened, of course, with the honey, softened with the soy. I'm going to put a bit of red wine in there as well when it goes to the stove. And I've got a little bit of sweet chili sauce to add to that, which again is my own thing. I'm not frightened of using my own ideas. A little sweet chili sauce, and mix that together. Now that is pretty much a damn good base for a chimichurri dip. The things that are missing, abaca, the basil. The basil in a chimichurri is essential. Parsley is essential as well. So I'm going to take some parsley. They use a lot of parsley in chimichurri. I'm going to chop that up. But we're not going to add it until the end. Now, you can buy chimichurri sauces in a bottle, and I've bought some and tried them out. And you know, the thing is that I'm not anti-buying things when you can, I'm not anti-buying things when you can get them better than you can make them, and why wouldn't you buy them? But I have never had a chimichurri from a bottle that I've enjoyed, so I always make it. And this is lovely fresh herbs, fresh parsley, which is going to finish the sauce. And some basil, and you don't need to chop up the basil as furiously as, or vigorously I should say, as that. Just some little shreds of basil. And that's just going to get dropped into the sauce at the end. And the other thing that's missing is lemon and lime. So always with a chimichurri you want that sort of twang of lemon and twang of lime coming through when you dip your lovely char grilled beef into it. And just squeeze it through your fingers to catch the little pips. And the same for the lime, but the good thing about limes is they don't have the little pips. So that's all in there, and that's going to go over to my stove in a sec, Pablo, and just heat up. And then we're going to finish that sauce with all the fresh herbs at the end and pour it in a little dish. I'm not going to pour it over the beef. I'm going to keep it separate. It's always a good idea if you've got a spicy-ish sauce not to pour it over the meat, but just keep it separate. And the meat itself, which is behind me, it's like being on in pantomime. It's behind you, is going to be seasoned with, this is a little pimienta dulce, sweet pepper, and a little molten salt. And we're going to season it on both sides. People often ask me about seasonings on beef. If you've got really good beef, you don't need to season it up too much with anything. I mean, salt and good black pepper is enough. But I quite like the caramelization you get from that pimienta dulce, which they call over here the sweet pepper powder, which when you buy it freshly in a little bag, it's aromatic and very flavoursome. That's it. Now we are ready, baby, to rock and roll over here to the grill. Now, if I was honest with you, and it was, well, I'm going to be honest with you, why not? And this was a Sunday lunch, I would have this beef cooked on the barbecue. But not everybody's got a barbecue like that, and that's a big old baby that went outside, a big Weber, and it does give a fantastic barbecue flavour to the beef, but you can get away with using one of these griddle pans. So have a look at that griddle pan, Pablo. That is going to cook this. So we're going to drizzle the pan with a good helping of light olive oil. Doesn't want to be your best virgin stuff. And then into the pan, start cooking. Now, in this, you know, one thing I hate about this villa, I love this villa by the way, there is one thing I hate, and that is, I'm electric here. All chefs like gas. In the restaurant, the Little Geranium, we have gas. All chefs prefer to cook on gas. You turn it up, and you know what you're getting, and then when you don't want it up, guess what? You turn it down. I mean, it's really as easy as that. But for some reason, there is no gas here in the village, and there is actually no gas in most of the villages around Mijas. We use bottled gas at the restaurant. And so we're warming this sauce up, and we're griddling our lovely beef. And we're just going to let that griddle, I mean, don't touch it, don't play around with it. You know when my dad cooks a barbecue, he puts, I hope he's watching this, he puts it on the barbecue, or the griddle pan, and the first thing he does is move it. He goes, move it, move it, move it, move it, move it. You don't, just let it seal, let it get some flavour in there, and let it cook on one side at least to get some colour before you turn it over and cook the other side. And the other thing is, always always have a bottle of Reserva red wine on standby, because it's absolutely crucial that a little bit of it goes in the sauce and a little bit of it goes in the glass, because that's crucial. So cheers. Salute to you. No, it's really good. It's really good. And that's the perk. You've got to have your chef's perks. Now, when I'm cooking in the restaurant, I don't drink. I drink afterwards, but not during. So look, the beef, Pablo, can you see that? And we're going to add a little butter to that. And a little bit more seasoning, a bit more salt, and a little bit of herb. And I'm just going to let all these flavours cook into that beef. The butter is a really good tip. As it's cooking, the butter just melts on top and soaks in to the beef. But it's also, whilst it's soaking into the beef, it's carrying all the seasoning we put on that. Pimenta, dulce, the salt, the molten salt. And it's going to carry all that flavour. And unusually, I like a bit of lemon on my beef. And it's just a quirk and just a tiny squeeze of fresh lime or lemon on top. And a touch more of that lovely black pepper. And you can see that is looking rather sexy, don't you think? I think it's looking really sexy. And that's nearly ready. Now, when you know when it's ready, Pablo, I'm going to explain it in English, although you won't understand a thing I'm saying, is that if you want a rare piece of meat, hold your hand like this and push it, and it's really floppy. So that would be rare. If you tighten it up a little bit, it'd be medium rare. If you tighten it like that, it'd be medium. If you go really like that, it's well done. So if you always do it by the touch, and you can always tell that is lovely and medium rare coming now. One more turn, and the same on the other side with the butter. And a little bit of that black pepper, and a little bit more salt. Now, my dad always says that I'm using too much salt. Son, you're going to kill yourself, you're going to have a heart attack from the salt. Dad, if you're watching, I'm not going to kill myself with the salt. I might kill myself with the red wine though, after a while. Now, in this pan, Pablo, can you see in here that this is now looking quite sticky, and it's looking like it's reduced a bit, which it has. There's some really good flavours, but boy, it's spicy. It's got a nice spice. It's not over spicy, but it's absolutely delicious. And when I put all those herbs in there, it just brings the steak alive. It just makes it from a normal state into something that's a sensation, and it's so simple. Now, the pièce de résistance, being half French, this beef is ready. I'm going to pull it and let it rest. Letting it rest is a really important quality, because we all need a rest. And at the moment, I'm working so hard, I need a rest too. But I'm not going to go on, no rest for me. Rest for the beef. The beef, when it rests, instead of it, because it's cooking all the time, because it's still hot, you see. So as you let it rest, the meat becomes more juicy and soft and more tender. So it's really important to let it rest for 5 minutes before you go, hey guys, here's your beef, whack it on a plate and serve it. Before you do that, just let it sit there, leave it alone, and it will be fine. We're going to put some oil in there, just a little bit, a little bit of butter, and we're going to throw in some of this yummy stuff, this green stuff. Now this is just rucola, as they call it over here, or rocket leaves, wild rocket, delicious. But it's not just a salad leaf, you know, it's great as a vegetable. And I kind of cook it so it's wilted, so it's just going in there, look, for a matter of seconds. And into that, a little bit of salt, not too much, just in case Daddy's watching, and a little bit of sesame seed. Sesame seed, rocket together is kind of heavenly. And that's it. You see how that wilts down to pretty much nothing really, like a bit like spinach does. But the flavours in there are just fantastic. So let's carry all this back to my little work surface area where we started. Let's finish the sauce first of all. So all these herbs we chopped up, remember we had the tarragon, we had some abaca. I've got all these Spanish words now, which is the basil. That all goes into that lovely finished chimichurri. I'm going to put a squeeze more lemon in it just because I tasted it and I felt it needed a bit more of a twanginess to it. And then just stir that in, and doesn't that look yummy yum? And then the dish for the beef, well, I'm going to put it in on this big plate because I think a nice big piece of meat like this needs a big sensation, a big entrance, and this is what it is. And then into this little dish, we're going to put the chimichurri, which I'm going to just drizzle a little bit of olive oil on the top just to give it a nice shine. It's had all that lovely seasoning on. Don't forget, we've had all that lovely seasoning on it. I'm going to drop that in place. We're going to put the rocket on top of that, like that. And then a real pièce de résistance might be just the tiniest bit of balsamic. Just like that. And that, my friends, is Argentinian beef, cooked medium rare, chimichurri dip, and wilted rocket with sesame seeds. Now, that'll take you to heaven. And I'm in heaven, cooking for you. This was the Argentinian beef with the rocket, the sesame seeds, the chimichurri dip. Wow. And I've really enjoyed cooking for you, ladies and gentlemen. Lovely to be here. Love you all. Thank you.